If you start to notice your whole team like capacity 2 and 3 and you're working at a 5, then there's something wrong. Sometimes about building great businesses isn't always about being the expert at everything. You have to be an expert in some area. So I hired the skill sets that I didn't have to build a super agency, basically.
And then you become a leader by accident because you didn't plan that you were going to have people working for you. I know for me, I was thrust into like leadership. What is this? Like I have to manage people. I don't know how to do that.
If you give great instructions and the work returned to you is bad, it's on them. If you give bad instructions and the work returned to you isn't good, it's on you. If you're hiring, just try to like see it as an opportunity to bring that person not just into your business but into your life. Like it's not always just about the best person for the role, but are they the best fit for you and your culture and your business?
Welcome to the Jen Gottlieb Show.
Welcome to the show, Georgia.
Thank you, Jen. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so grateful. I really am. You are one of my favorite people. And this show is about me introducing my favorite people, my favorite concepts to the world. And I specifically wanted to have you on because you have a very, very unique story and unique situation that I think resonates with a lot of my listeners. And before we get into it, I would love for you to introduce yourself to the listeners better than I could. So if we were all like a dinner party together and like they didn't know who you were, could you just tell them who you are as you would tell them if you were at a dinner party introducing yourself?
Yeah, 100%. So I'm Georgia Thomas. I'm an ex-corporate lawyer turned multi-business owner and a mum to a beautiful little girl named Thea. And I am the co-founder and CEO of an agency called eStudios, where we help founders remove themselves from the chaos that is social media, so that social media doesn't need to be a full-time job. And now I also help founders do the exact same sort of thing by removing themselves from the day-to-day operations in their business. My husband and I have multiple businesses which run across tech, an agency, e-com, in a group called the Venture House Group, which I get to have the joy of leading that too. And so now I'm just in the really the messy middle, I suppose, of balancing motherhood and entrepreneurship and just seeing how that really goes. It's an amazing journey.
It's incredible when you tell me all your roles, and like I know you pretty well now, and you just told me all of the businesses that you run, and I'm like, wait a second, you do? Yeah. How do you do that? Because I see you as just such an involved mom, incredible wife, a very calm person. Like every time I talk to you, you're just so grounded. And a lot of entrepreneurs that I interact with on a regular basis are just like frantic trying to get everything done, and they are not enjoying their life. They don't see their kids as often as they would. They're very overwhelmed. They're very burnt out. And you just sat here and told me all these businesses that you run. And we also, before the cameras turned on, we're talking about how you go to Disney World like once a week with your daughter. And you are so present and so relaxed. And the journey that I want to take the audience on with us today is telling them about how you actually took off a full year of your business. You removed yourself, but it's still operated without you there. And you're a genius at setting up systems and processes so that we can go live our life and not have our business take over our lives.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, my business fully takes over my life. So I need to learn all of these things from you. So my first question for you is, how did this journey of optimization start for you? Like, when did you realize, oh my God, like I can't be doing this and I need to put in systems to make sure that I can like step away and go possibly be a mom or start a family or do the things that I want to do?
Well, I think like it all began with being a lawyer and becoming a lawyer, because when you are going down the pathway of becoming a lawyer, it's not like an easy career to obtain. There's like, in the UK, you have to go through like 3 years of law school plus 2 years of training contract plus another year plus another year. So you're looking at like 7 years, plus you have to obtain those training contracts. And I remember it was like a training ground really for like what I now do today in business. I realized how the skill set I learned, like becoming a lawyer, but also being a lawyer, and the skills I learned as a lawyer really helped me today as a business owner. And I just learned really quickly when I was younger how to like revise efficiently. So it was like time blocking. Time blocking has been like the thing that has got me to where I am. You know, I often resonate with the entrepreneurs who are like, it's not that I was the most intelligent or the most skilled. It was just that I was like effective with my time and I knew how to leverage certain things. For me, that's been part of my journey. Like I've definitely been the one to push myself beyond my limits because I've been effective with like time management, time blocking, and making sure that I don't spend too much time on something that could end up costing me. So I learned to do that back when I was like juggling many plates because I was training to be a lawyer. I was also a youth pastor. I was also an international doing international mission trips for like a worldwide charity, working in like human trafficking. So I was already juggling loads of plates back then. I'm still involved in like the charity now. I'm a trustee on the board. And so basically that, I guess it was a training ground for me. And I love when you always share about your training ground, like which was like your journey as an actress. The things we do in our like early careers, sometimes they may not be what we always do, but they give us such amazing skill sets that like we can then put into what we do today. Doesn't mean you have to stay there. And so, yeah, I guess what kind of got me to a point of like optimization was one, I started the business when I was still a lawyer. So I didn't have 100% of the time to put into the business. I had to build it right from the get-go to kind of I was just involved at high level. And then I went through stages. So I took a career break. I took some time off. And I did that actually to help Gavin with another one of his businesses because I was going to help him with the legal side of things. And I realized I needed to completely rebuild this business. Like it was just not going to scale at the rate that I wanted it to. And it was kind of not in the right industry. So
can we pause for a second?
Yeah.
Because your background is not in building businesses. Your background is in law.
Yeah.
How did you know how to scale a business? How were you able to look at that and be like, wait, this business is not going to scale like this. We need to redo it. I would never know how to do that.
Yeah.
Did you have any education in this?
I think I was like one of those kids that was like entrepreneurial from the get-go. And like Gavin has amazing stories, my husband, where he was like trying to like mow people's lawns and stuff, and then he was like hiring his friends and giving them like a tiny bit and he was keeping the rest, like that kind of story. I didn't have those kind of stories, but I did try and start like a cafe. And with my dad, I've worked since I was 14, so like I grew up with a single mum and I always worked since I was 14. So I've always been hardworking. And I think I just learned how to leverage my time really well. In terms of like my legal background, I was a corporate lawyer. So I did understand business acumen from law. But in terms of like how I knew how to start things, the first brand I ever built officially was the youth group I manage. And I grew the youth group across Wales into like from 1 group to 3 groups. And there was like loads of kids coming. And if you know young people, like teenagers, they're like the most hardest people to work with. So I think like I learned how to build brands, learned how to build businesses around those brands. And then in terms of your question, which is like, how do you know that the business is not going to survive? Or how do you pivot basically? Mm-hmm. And well, ironically, like we're sat in a studio right now. East Studios begun. It was a studio, and it was a studio in Wales, and we leveraged it during COVID because no one could leave the house unless for work. There was like a specific reason you were allowed to leave your house for work. So we built the studio in Wales at that time to capitalize on the fact that people could come to the studio during that time and like leave the house because they were working if they were filming content. Now, this is back in 2020. So like podcast studios were still like quite a novel thing, I suppose, and like filming studios. But in order to grow a podcast studio, you need like a lot of capital. And at the time we didn't have a lot of capital. But I also started to spot, I've always loved social media. I started to spot that like TikTok had taken off during the pandemic, and Instagram was starting to like push videos, but it hadn't yet launched Reels. So I realized that there was probably going to be an opportunity to leverage video marketing because it was before like AI, it was before Descript was created. And so during my time off, I was on this 9-month career break where I was helping Gavin. I realized, hey, if we're going to build this business, it actually needs to be something we can service people all over the world, not just one location. And if we're going to expand this business fast, we would have to build studios all over the like UK, for example, to begin with, and then maybe the US. We were in Miami, and I was like, I just want to service people all over the world. So I was like, I want to create a business that can service anyone, anywhere. That was like our initial tagline, anyone, anywhere. And from that, I started to deliver like a service which was full done for you social media management. And I was only off from law for 9 months. Within that 9 months, we grew the business to a multi-six-figure agency. So it like grew really rapidly. I completely wiped the decks clean. And by the time I was going back to work, it was like we already had, I think, like 12 members of staff. So, and this is the time where like AI was still up and coming, right? So it's not like you had to use resource at that time. So I guess like coming to your question, how do you know when to pivot? Like, or how do you know when a business is going to succeed when a business is not? I think it's about like spotting where the market's going and going, how much can this business like push? How much opportunity is there? And if not, like, is there something that the business can pivot to do that's going to enable it to have like more longevity or ride a certain wave? Like, I would say Gavin and I have learned how to do that with our businesses, and that's what's allowed us to kind of like ride different waves. And like, that's what we continue to do with this agency even now.
It's so awesome.
Yeah.
It's so awesome. So you build this social media agency and you build it from nothing. And I don't think you were a social media expert, were you?
No, I just liked social media. Like, I suppose I would count myself like a typical millennial, right? Who's just like grown up in the Instagram era. Like, I loved Instagram. And I do think like I am strategic in that I understand social media, but like, I wasn't a self-pronounced expert because obviously I was an ex-lawyer, right? Or at the time, still a lawyer.
So, but this is interesting, and I think that this is really important for people to listen to, that you just liked something.
Yeah.
You had an interest in it, and you were excited about it.
Yeah.
And I don't think you have to be an expert in order to build a business on something. No. You can be an enthusiast. And so you were, and you built a successful social media company. Yeah. And you will then take us to the next part of the journey. So you have this company that's up and running.
Yeah. And I think what you just said is so important, because sometimes about building great businesses isn't always about being the expert at everything. You have to be an expert in some area. Like, for example, I'm an expert strategist. I'm expert like cultivator of people. I love building team. I love encouraging my team. But like, I'm not a video editor. I'm not a graphic designer. I hired incredible video editors, incredible video graphic designers, incredible SEO strategists. So I hired the skill sets that I didn't have to build a super agency, basically.
It seems so easy when you say it, though. It seems so easy. You're like, I just went and hired these amazing people. I could go down the rabbit hole how you hire a team like that. But I first want to finish the story, because there's a really important piece where you end up taking off from this company and you take yourself out. When was the point where you realized I can't be in this, like in the day-to-day?
Yeah. So basically, that 9 months had come to an end. I was sat on Miami Beach and I was looking out at the ocean. And I remember thinking, hey, if I quit law right now, I could move to Miami. I could focus fully on this business and we could blow it up, right? And equally, Gavin was doing so well in his businesses. But I had made a promise that I was going to return. I'd been given this career break by my bosses. I'd been told that I needed to return, but I also wanted to honor that and respect what I'd been given and go back to work. So it was like, that was the moment for me where I was like, okay, this is the make or break moment. I'm either going to go back to law and love it, because I want to like stress, law was my dream career. Like, I was a young British like brunette Elle Woods. I was like, I want to be like, you know, like what she always says, what, like it's hard? Like, that's what I was like. I was like, I want to be a lawyer. Well, like it's hard. Like, that was my goal. Like, and my friends, like I was 14, I was telling them then, I'm going to be a lawyer. I'm going to be a lawyer. I'm going to be a lawyer. And I grew up in Cornwall, which, like, if anyone knows the UK, it's a very small countryside. It's like right at the end of the UK. I grew up in a village with like one shop, one pub, and like a population of probably like less than 1,000 people. And so like this tiny little town, like tiny little village it is, and in this small country place. And I had big dreams. I wanted to be in the city. I wanted to be a lawyer, and nothing was going to stand in my way. And it was just a case of like, how far could I push it to get that dream, what we call a training contract? How far could I push it to become a lawyer? And then when I was a lawyer, I loved it as well. But marrying an entrepreneur exposed me to like what could be beyond law. And I knew one day I wanted to be a mum. And I knew when that day came that I didn't want to be working like 16-hour days. I'd hear partners like saying they were missing their kids' birthdays and they were missing out on these like vital moments. And I thought to myself, that's not me. Like, even though I like this career and I enjoyed the work, I was made for so much more than that. And, you know, I was balancing different things. So I was still leading youth groups. I was still doing these international mission trips. So I was like, if I'm doing all this other stuff, I'm obviously not fulfilled fully in this job. So I'm going back to the UK now. It's like the business has grown, it's successful. It's actually like got to the point where it's probably could replace my, like the monthly revenue was probably already replacing my annual salary as a lawyer. But because I owed it to my initial dream and I owed it to my bosses that I would return to work. So I went back to work and it was horrible weather. It was October in the UK. And if anyone knows, it just rains nonstop, especially in Wales, which is where we lived. And it's pouring down with rain. I'm sat on the train on the commute and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, why am I doing this? And meanwhile, I'm running the business still. So I'm still leading this team via Slack on my phone, on the train, on the commute, in the toilets at lunchtime or like in my car. And the business continues to grow. So it gets to like 3 months, I'm back at work 3 months, and I've realized like I'm spinning too many plates now because I'm a full-time lawyer, full-time corporate M&A lawyer. That's like a 12, 16-hour day job anyway. And then I'm also then leading this business from my phone and this remote team. Business is growing, doing really well. And I think I landed another client and it was kind of like, okay, is this the moment now that I quit law? Because I can go all in on this business. And I remember feeling like there's got to be more purpose in it. It can't just be this social media agency, because what you sort of touched on is like, is that my passion? Not really. Like, I love it. I enjoy it. I love leading the team. I still love that business. Like, it's still my baby, like the business is. But is it my big passion? No, it's just one passion. So is that enough to leave this big career for? And then I got offered the opportunity to become the trustee of the charity I was working with. And that kind of felt like it bridged the gap, because it meant that I still got to use my legal skills to do something I was passionate about with this charity, because the reason I was being asked to be on the board was because I was a lawyer. And so that kind of bridged the gap for me on like an emotional level that said to me, okay, I'm still using my legal skills here. I'm going to use my legal skills in the business. And I'm okay with like, because when you're a lawyer, it's a bit like being a doctor. It's a bit like some of these careers. And I'm saying this because I bet there's people in careers who want to pivot. Like you wanted to be you were an actress. And sometimes those jobs that you're doing, like they become your label, especially like when you're like me, 14 years old, like saying, I want to be a lawyer. I want to be a lawyer. You become a lawyer. So everyone knows you as a lawyer. So then you have to kind of wear that label. And then all of a sudden, if that label doesn't fit you anymore, it becomes like this big thing to say, I'm not going to be a lawyer anymore. And there's like a sense of like feeling like, are you failing your own dream? Like, are you walking out on your own dream? And even people around you, people close to you can be like, why are you doing that? Why would you give up such a great career? But they don't always see like where you're headed. They don't see like the plans that you have, that like the purpose within you, the things that you're stepping into. And I think like for me, I knew I was like stepping into something, I wasn't just stepping into full-time entrepreneurship within eStudios. I was stepping into something bigger than that. And I now look back and I'm so glad I made that move. And I suppose, shall I get to the next part of the story where like, I had to do it all over again? So I did it all once. I left law. I went full time in the business and I was like, this is it. I'm a full-time entrepreneur. Look at me, watch me go. And 3 months into full-time entrepreneurship, I found out I was pregnant. And I am so grateful for our baby girl, who has been like a total blessing to my life and like a real gift. But like it was a surprise. It was a surprise pregnancy. And I was not ready to become a mum, really. Like I knew it was part of my plan. I knew it's my dream, but I wasn't like, okay, I'm going to get pregnant now. I was like, I'm going all in 2 years, 3 years into this business. So I was probably going to fall into like what I call like the founder's trap. I was going to go all in and I was going to basically micromanage everyone in my business. And I started to do that for 3 whole months. I was like micromanaging everyone because bear in mind, like they've been operating more or less without me. But those 3 months where I was full time in the business, I went all in. I was working long hours. I was already in that routine from law. So I was working long hours. I was telling everyone what to do. I was micromanaging every task. Then I found out I was pregnant. And I realized, okay, this is the moment. Like if I'm going to be a mum, there's no way I'm going to miss a moment of this little girl's life. Like, and any moment I do miss has to be fruitful. It has to make sense. So I was like, I need to remove myself from this business. I've got 6 months to do it. I've got to find the right people to bring onto my team so that this business can run without me. And then I realized, like, if I'm going to take a year off and be present as her mum, that's what I told myself I wanted. I wanted a year to enjoy my motherhood and her childhood, like her first year of her life. If I was going to do that, there's no reason why I would ever need to step back in again. Because if they can survive for a year with me acting as CEO at a high level, with me just kind of like checking in with my ops manager and being involved where I needed to be involved, there was no reason why I would ever need to go back in. So that's what I did. And that's what's continued to work. And now my husband and I build multiple businesses and I help him and help us do just that, like with every single business we build now.
Okay. So it sounds so easy. I'm sitting here thinking, okay, so then I just decided that I don't want to be in it anymore. And now I'm just not in it anymore.
Yeah.
So, but let's unpack that a little bit because there's people here listening. I mean, even myself, thinking, okay, how do you make that happen? Because there's a couple of things that come into play. Number one, it's the mindset of the entrepreneur that is terrified to let go of the control. Terrified to delegate, to let anybody else do anything because it's their baby and they can't do it as good as me. There's a mindset shift that needs to happen to delegate. I have been in that place. I've been able to let go. Now I love delegating, but you do have to go through a process also of finding the people to delegate to, and you have to know what roles they fit into, and you have to set this whole thing up. So can you back into that piece?
Yeah.
Let's say someone right now is listening and they're like, I want to do that.
Yeah.
I want to take a year off and have my business run for me. What's the first step?
Yeah. So the first thing is like, this is a really great skill that anyone can do if they're like wanting to remove themselves from elements of their business. So what you should do is you should create like your org chart, like write your org chart down of like who you have in your business. So you're going to have like you and then all the other roles that are being filled. Now, create an org chart as well that is like the perfect org chart for your business to operate like perfectly. So it might mean that you've, say, for example, like for us, we're a video and social media marketing agency. So we've got like editors, graphic designers, social media managers. But say, for example, like you as the CEO are doing all the strategy. Well, if you were creating a perfect org chart, you would have like an SEO strategist or like a social media strategist. So you build the org chart of what you need. Now, what you do is you put your name in every single box that you're currently doing. So then you're going to start to look at your business. You're going to go, oh, I'm the CEO, but I'm also the payroll assistant, and I'm also doing the sales calls, and I'm also doing lead gen over here, and I'm also our media buyer, and I'm also the key strategist for our business. That's going to highlight to you the roles that you need to fill. And that's going to be like your starting point. So that's going to start to show you, okay, I need to create like a hiring process for all these key roles. The other thing it might show you is that you've got like a bit of dead weight in the business. So you might have roles being like, you might have people in your business that don't even fit those perfect roles. Now, I hate firing people. Like, it's like my least favorite thing to do. And I'm one of those people that's like, maybe we can pivot them because I'm a chief pivoter. But not everyone is meant to be pivoted. And like what I'm trying to tap into now is that like, just because people have been part of your journey to now doesn't mean that they're going to always be part of your journey. Also, like maybe if they're not doing a great job for you, they would do a better job somewhere else. So you're giving them an opportunity to find out what they're passionate about by pushing them in a different direction. That's just like a little side note. But back to what to do to operationalize things, you're going to look at what you've currently got. You're going to look at where you want to go in terms of the org chart. And if you're going to remove yourself completely as like CEO, because most CEO and founders are basically the operators in their business, they're doing pretty much everything. You're going to need to hire someone who's operationally excellent to be the operator in your business. Now, everything you said about like that feeling of like, it's my baby and I don't want to let go. Like before I had my actual baby, this was my only baby. And I was like, I totally shared those sentiments. I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot just take this time off. Like I cannot just like completely let go of this business. I was like, I'm just gonna be honest, I was being induced, like in the hospital. I was still on my laptop, like, because I was like, I better quickly give them all this information. And I had a 6-month window to give him all the knowledge that I had, all the information he needed. And I couldn't make him be me, but I could give him enough and rely on the skill sets that he had so that he could lead the business forward. And here's what will happen. Like, if you hire an amazing operator, one, they'll do that. They'll probably take things further than you would. Like, he's a better operator than I am an operator. He's amazing at culture. So he's been able to like take certain things further. But there's going to be times where like they do things that you wouldn't do, or they do things in a different way. And you've got to kind of learn to pick your battles. In order to grow, you're never going to be able to like micromanage everything. So the best way to give great instructions is to give clear, really like thorough instructions. I remember when I was in law, like one of the partners told me, like, if you give great instructions and the work returned to you is bad, it's on them. If you give bad instructions and the work returned to you isn't good, it's on you. So I kind of take that approach into business. It's like how good you delegate, how good you give instructions is how good they're going to produce the result. And then it gives you really an easy way to have conversations if like things don't turn out how you wanted it to. So like I think when you're a founder, if you're trying to remove yourself from like your business, like trying to operationalize things, systemize things, one, hire an amazing operator who can build the systems out in your business. But two, kind of realize that you do need to relinquish a little bit of control. But if you give really clear instructions on what you want, like what are your boundaries, what are your yeses and your nos, like they're going to be able to do a better job for you. So the people who I think end up really disgruntled with their staff are the ones that just kind of like don't give clear instructions, let the staff just crack on with things. And then when it doesn't go as they expected it to, they're frustrated with the staff, but it's actually not the staff's fault, it's your fault for not giving those clear instructions. So yeah, that would be my big piece of advice. Do your org chart, figure out all the seats that you're sitting in, then hire the operator who's going to basically be your acting COO or head of operations, and give really clear instructions so that they can delegate, and then hold it lightly. Like know that there's going to be times where they do things that you're not happy with, or like not even not happy with, you just think, I wouldn't have done that. But you just need to be really clear with them where you are like absolutely certain it's black and white what you want to happen. And then anything that kind of falls outside of that is kind of like the gray area, and you kind of need to decide whether that's an area that you're happy with. Like for example, for me, the key areas that I always want to be involved in is anything like big culture. So it's like it's going to shape the way that the company feels, because that's so important to me that people feel a type of way when they work with us. Anything that's like client facing that would affect like our brand, or anything about like how people feel when they work with us. So that again, it kind of links to culture, but from an external perspective. And then anything that's kind of like big picture, like our prices, things like that, that's where I care about. So then anything outside of that, I've had to accept that that falls within the remit of my head of operations. And it's not my place always to kind of like railroad or micromanage that, because he also needs to be able to step into his zone of genius, be amazing. And if I just micromanage him, I'm not going to be able to see that in him anyway.
You're listening to The Jen Gottlieb Show.
Okay, I have so many questions here. Okay, first one, I'm terrible at hiring. Absolutely terrible. Yeah. I have like a horrible track record, not just hiring team, but like partnering with the wrong people. And I'd love to hear from you, since it sounds like you you hit the nail on the head when you found like your operator and some of the roles in your team, because you were able to step away and still successful. What are some of the questions that you ask in an interview? I know that this might be a weird question, but like I genuinely want to learn from you how to be a better picker of people.
Yeah.
Especially big roles in your business.
Yeah.
Like how do you know how to do that? And like what questions are you asking? What are you looking for specifically? What are you not looking for specifically?
Yeah.
Like red flags.
Yeah, this is so good. So funny because I was doing a reel about this just the other day. Like, I think there's two things. The first thing is like, you have to look at someone and hear what they're not saying, right? Because, and I learned this in law, it's not always about what people are saying, it's what they're not saying. It's like the unspoken things, but there's always going to be like hints at it. And I think what I learned as a lawyer is like, you have to be really clear about what the expectations are and what you're expecting from them and what they should expect from you as a business owner. So, and like the founder, for example. So if you're hiring people, you want to be absolutely clear on what the job requires. And like some people want someone who's there all the time, who will answer the phone whenever they call, but then they don't say that because they don't want to put the person off. But if that's your expectation, you should be really clear about that, because like that's going to make you either happy with them as a member of staff and an employee, or it's going to make you unhappy. So you want to be clear. Integrity is so important. And I think in terms of like, it's not just work. Like I really want to be like honest that like the people we work with, like the people who are part of our business, like whether they're members of staff or business partners, we see those as the people we're doing life with. So if we've invited them to have like a seat at our table, to be part of our inner circle, that means that like we're taking them on the journey, or they're part of our journey. So we are thoughtful and even prayerful on the people that we allow in, because they have the ability, whether they're just a member of staff or they're a business partner, they have the ability to like make or break us, right? Even on the smallest scale, because like culture is so important. So even if it's just a member of staff in your business, they have to align with your core values. And it doesn't mean everyone has to share your views or anything like that. It's not about that. It's about like, do they understand the vision of the business? Do they understand the vision of what you're trying to achieve? Like, even if it's just like an assistant or anything, do they understand what you're trying to do? And then do they understand you, like your heart, your motivation, why you're doing the things you're doing? Like, because that means that they're going to be able to come on that journey with you. So I think like we ignore our gut so often, like as business owners and even as human beings, right? We just ignore that gut feeling that like something seems off there. And we ignore like the little red flags, like what I was saying, those things that they're not saying. Like, because a great shiny resume can look great, but like, well, they took like 3 years out and there's nothing on the resume there. Like, why did they take 3 years out? Like, those are the questions to ask in an interview. Oh, we've seen from your resume where you did all these amazing things and you did all these amazing things, but what happened in that 3 years where you did nothing? Like, we were speaking with someone recently who we were interviewing for like an operator role. And he had an amazing story, but like he's built businesses and then taken time out, and now he's like working freelance and sort of like consulting. And I was just like, what happened? Like, why did you stop building your business? And then what happened with this and what happened with that? And he ended up telling me that he'd actually been like wronged, really. And like when he shared his story, I like really like felt for him. I resonated with him, but I would have never heard that if I didn't spot the missing gap. So I think like if you're hiring, just try to like see it as an opportunity to bring that person not just into your business but into your life. Like, it's not always just about the best person for the role, but are they the best fit for you and your culture and your business? Like, and maybe they have then the skill set that you can take further, like you can help them become better. Obviously you want A players in your business, but like I always say to like one of our operators, I always say like, not everyone's an A player. You've got A players, B players, C players, D players. They all play a part, but you can be an amazing D player and you can be an amazing C player and an amazing B player. It's about like what their roles are, and you're not looking for all A players because then no one would get a word in edgeways. But you want a mixture of talent, and you want people who understand the culture, understand the vision, and are able to go with you on that journey.
It's so good. So my other question about this, and then we're going to move on to another topic, but what if someone is not at the level financially where they can bring in an operator?
Yeah.
Many people that I work with right now are just starting their business and they maybe have one team member or two team members and they are just trying to stay afloat themselves and they really want to be able to step away a little bit and go balance being a mom or being a dad or doing what they love and their business at the same time. But they're like, this whole talk about bringing on a big COO or an operating role just is scaring me because I don't have the money for that right now.
Yeah.
What would you suggest?
I would say like if you're in another career, like so you have another income stream, I would always say keep that income stream coming until you have a point where your business can sustain you letting go of an income stream. Like I don't believe in like it's like if you're already in a job or already in employment and like you're sort of straddling the two, like try to do it. If you are going to exit one thing, like I exited law, I didn't actually do that until the business was a point that it could put me on the exact same salary and it wasn't going to affect the business. Like you don't really want to be draining, but say you're already in that position, like you said, and you're already full-time in your business and that business is like not at the point of thriving and yet you want to start to remove yourself a little bit. Maybe you don't have the ability to hire like a 4, 5, 6 grand a member of staff. Understandable. Then what you need to do is like maybe start with like an executive like assistant PA role that's or like a project manager who can still start to build out the SOPs in the business and take away some of that pain. But I also think going back to like the org chart thing is going to be like a huge thing for you because if you start to see that you're like doing things in the business that are like a VA role or a system role, like i.e. there's like an app for that. Do you know what I mean? There's apps for everything these days. There's softwares for everything. If you're spending like, and this is the thing we fall into the trap of doing. We always say, oh, it'll just take me like a couple of hours. It'll just take me 2-3 hours. Well, those 2-3 hours are adding up and that's why you're working 16-hour days. So if there's jobs on that org chart that like a VA could do, an app could do, someone in your existing team could do, they could take on more of a load, or you could hire someone like at a more junior level to take on that task or that responsibility, then you need to like do that. So it's not always about hiring the COO. It can be hiring the people that are going to take the pressure off where you're currently spending too much time. The other thing is like, obviously, you know, with your, when it comes to like your team, I think like sometimes delegation is like, we've touched on delegation, but delegation is such a hard thing. And actually maybe you need to like let go a little bit. Like you need to have a little word with yourself and say, okay, like I'm doing everything in this business, but I've got 5 members of staff who are under capacity. We introduced like capacity calls. So quick run round, like what's everyone's capacity out of 5? And we like graded what that looks like. So people then have to be totally honest and authentic about like, okay, my capacities are 3, my capacities are 2, my capacity is 1, or maybe it's a 4 or 5. But if you start to notice your whole team like capacity 2 and 3 and you're working at a 5, then there's something wrong. You need to sort of start to delegate to your existing team and then you'll start to release a bit of like the pressure off yourself.
I'm going to do that.
Yes.
Capacity call. That's so good.
That's one from the legal world.
Do they ever lie?
Well, no, because you can't, because the thing is, this is the thing with people, like if you don't ask your members of staff like what they're doing on a day-to-day, they're just going to keep like doing what they're doing. But if you make it like intentional, so what we did is we created like a my week document within our task management system. So they had to rate their capacity and update it on a daily basis. So it's almost like a self-management tool, like of keeping yourself accountable. And if your capacity, like 3 is okay, but if your capacity drops below a 3, it means that you should be actively going to your manager or actively going to the team and saying, hey guys, my capacity is at a 2. Is there anything I can help anyone else in the team with? So it's like creating that culture of like sharing and being a part of what everyone else is doing rather than like operating individually. Like we're a team.
So genius. That was so good. We were implementing the capacity thing immediately after this podcast.
Yeah.
Get outside of your comfort zone and into your best life, one small step at a time.
All right, so let's pivot a little bit. That was like a lesson in business, you guys. I hope you were taking notes. You might want to save this and like listen to it a little slower. Grab the transcript, put it into AI, and like make an SOP for you out of Georgia's wisdom. But let's talk about now motherhood and like balancing it now. So now you're on the other side of this. You took a ton of time off, about a year, and your business ran for you while you were being a mom.
Yeah.
And now you're back integrating both things.
Yeah.
There's a lot of parents that listen to this that are managing that are trying to figure out how to be a great parent and also a great business owner. Can you take us through like a day in the life of Georgia?
Yeah. And I want to be honest, like this is something I'm really like working through right now because it's a new season for me, like being a mum. I'm a first-time mum. My daughter's 18 months old. She's still a baby. I took that year off, and in the new year, I started to go back to work. It actually just started with us filming our podcast. So like I said, I'll be available to film the podcast, and I started just like staying more bait of what was going on rather than like being like, do not contact me unless you have to. I was started to be a bit more intentional with my team again. And getting involved again with clients that needed me, like not every client, but like the ones that like high ticket clients more that do deserve my time. Those ones I started to get back involved with again. And now I'm in this balance of wanting to pursue opportunities, like even just being here today, like this is an opportunity, but it's time away from my daughter. So I'm having to be really intentional about the things I say yes to, the things I say no to. I have told myself that I can do everything that I need to do in 3 to 4 hours a day, Monday through to Friday. So that's 15 to 20 hours a week max. So I am back to my old skills of when I was revising, of like time blocking my time, making sure that I'm super intentional with my days. I get everything done. So I actually work between the hours of 9 and 12, sometimes 9 and 1, Monday through to Friday. I get up around 7 a.m. if like maybe earlier if my daughter wakes me up earlier. But we get up, we have an hour or two together where we get to have breakfast, we get to play, I get to have my mummy cuddles. I do have childcare. Only recently, since like the last few months, I've started to have childcare 9 till 12. Those hours are my hours to do anything I need to do. That includes going to the gym. Now that I'm really trying to go to the gym again, it means doing anything, like if I need to go and get my hair done or get my nails done, I have to do it in that time. But also then anything I need to do with the businesses. So it comes back to like ensuring that my team take extreme ownership for the things that they're responsible for, me being super clear with them about what I expect from them, and then me being super firm with myself to not fall into the trap of doing everything. Because it's so easy when you see like a Slack message or something go wrong with a client, it's so easy to be like, oh, I better jump in and I better fix that because I can. But the reality is like when you do that to your team, you actually disempower them anyway, because you're taking away their responsibility, which means that next time something goes wrong, they'll turn to you to fix it rather than taking ownership themselves. So I'm having to be super intentional right now about not falling back into old habits of micromanaging or doing any of that, remembering that it's important that I equip my team but empower them. And then when it comes to like motherhood, then I get to be super intentional with my time with my daughter by like when it's 1, like on 12 or 1, depending on when I've done the childcare for, that moment that I've got my daughter back in my arms, it's like that is her time. If I want to take her swimming in the pool, if I want to take her to Disney for the afternoon, if I want to take her to like a play center, if I want to just like enjoy time with her at home, that's our special time. So if anything invades that time, then it has to be worth it, because otherwise it's like a complete invasion of her time, and I've already sacrificed for her in the morning. So it's like, it's just about really weighing up the two and balancing, like, I suppose, personal ambition and then purpose. Like, I know that in this season, my daughter needs me more than any business will ever need me. And even though opportunities may come my way, and some of those opportunities could be life-changing, some of them might be good opportunities, some might be great, I can't do everything right now. I have to choose wisely and then trust that the ones that I choose are part of the plan. And if I didn't and the opportunity goes away, then it wasn't meant for me anyway. Because right now this season's about her. So like that's what I'm doing. I know everyone will have different ways of doing it. I know it's common to go back to work and work more hours. I know I could. Like I could choose right now. Like I could actually take more time off from work and the businesses could run without me. I could be full-time working and have full-time childcare. I found that right now the balance that I've struck is like a few hours a day gives me enough time to have a handle on things, give input, do the things that I need to do to move the businesses forward, while still trusting that everyone else is doing their part to move things forward and not going to affect me drastically enough. Does that mean that maybe like we're not growing as fast as we could? Could things move faster? Maybe, but like ultimately I'm trusting that we've got the right team, and where I'm noticing gaps, like if I'm noticing on the org chat there's gaps and we need those gaps to expand or grow, then I'm seeking to find ways to fill the gaps, whether that means bringing in more clients so that we can hire more people, or making cuts elsewhere, or ultimately just trusting that the system we have works. So going back to people and realigning for them, like, what are your expectations? What should you be doing in the business? Because ultimately it all comes back to, for me, if I have to jump in and do your job for you, you're costing me time with my daughter. So, and I don't mean that in a negative way, like, because I love everyone who works for us. But ultimately, if I keep that message as the one play in my mind, I know I'll build a better team than if I jump in and do everything for them, or if I fall into the trap of just like not expecting that much from them.
Mm-hmm. It's such a good mindset of not jumping in and saving the day, because it's not helping them at all. It's actually hurting them.
Yeah.
If you jump in and save the day. I never thought about it that way. I feel like, no, making your life a lot easier right now, just me doing it.
Yeah.
You're actually taking away their feeling of competence.
Exactly. And that's it. Like, people can't be empowered unless you empower them. Like, and you have to give them the opportunity to, like, what is it? Fight or flight. So like they're either gonna perform for you and do a great job, or they're not. But if they don't, is it because they didn't have the right information? Is it because they need more support? Is it because you haven't given them enough resource? Like, ultimately, we can always help people be better. And if then you've given them everything that they need to succeed and they've not succeeded for you, then that's a conversation of being like, hey, like, maybe actually this is not a good fit in this role. Are you better suited somewhere else in the business, or is it just not a good fit altogether? Like, that's ultimately the place we're getting to, which is like, people are either going to succeed for you or they're not. And I don't mean that in a negative way, because ultimately, you know, it just means that maybe that was not the right role for them. But we all are able to shine in our areas of like excellence. And I think it's about making sure that you're giving people that chance to shine. Like, if you didn't have that chance to shine, you wouldn't have shined. So help them like find that thing that makes them amazing.
So good. It's like an expert session in leadership, which I think a lot of people need, because when we sign up to be entrepreneurs, well, many people that become entrepreneurs by accident. I did.
100%.
Right? Like, you didn't plan on it, and then you become a leader by accident because you didn't plan that you were going to have people working for you. I know for me, I was thrust into like leadership. What is this? Like, I have to manage people. I don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
And you just do it and you make all the mistakes. And I feel like now I'm like, oh, now I finally think I know, kind of. And I've been learning a lot from you actually sitting here. It's really, really valuable. But really, like, everyone that's listening, I want you to think about this, because you are sitting here living, breathing proof that you have built a business, and you are also a mom, and you are not stuck in the hustle culture trap.
Yeah.
You are not in that world of like, I need to work more, and be like the greatest entrepreneur in the world, and be the greatest mom in the world, and create all the greatest content in the world, and like always be on this hamster wheel. You have created a system for yourself where you work for this 3-hour time period. And you're like, I need to get everything done that I need to get done in this 3-hour time period. And then I'm shutting it down. I'm going to be a mom. Yeah. And I think that clearly is working for you. And it's not a system that I've ever heard before. Like, the people that I communicate with often, it's like they're just trying to do all the things all at once, all the time, forever and ever. And then things leak. But it sounds like your system is just very, very focused. You are where your feet are in that moment.
Yeah.
And I find for me that I really like strategic procrastination in my life, meaning I wait till the last minute to do things so that I only have a very specific amount of time to do it. So like, if you take, there's like a quote, I don't know what the quote is, but like if you give somebody 3 weeks to do something, it'll take them 3 weeks. If you give them 3 hours, it'll take them 3 hours.
Yeah.
So I like to just give myself like 60 minutes to do something. But for you, it's like, all right, I have this person watching my kid from 9 to 1 or whatever. So I have to do all of these things.
Yeah.
And then I'm done. It just sounds so genius.
Yeah.
Is it ever hard to stay in those boundaries?
100%.
Okay.
We're human, right? I'm human. Like, so I loved what you just shared. And I live and lived by, since I was young, a similar motto, which was like, work expands to the time allotted to it. So it's the same thing, right? If you've got 1 hour to get something done, and that's all you've got, you're going to get it done because you've got to get it done. And I think like, it's about like, ultimately, you could spend 5 hours doing something that could take you 1 hour. Okay, maybe if you've spent 5 hours, you would have procrastinated a little bit. You would have like gone around the houses. You might have changed it a few times. Like you might have like enhanced it a little bit further. But ultimately, if you only have 1 hour to get it done, you're going to get it done. I'm also a procrastinator. Like I'm totally undiagnosed, like some form of neurodivergence. And so like I've always operated like the same way as you, in the sense like I kind of like, if I don't need to do it, I'll leave it till the last minute. And then when I need to do it, I get it done, and I get it done really fast. So ultimately, we can be more efficient. So why not? Like, I think I used to find like when I was a lawyer, we had to record our time by 6-minute increments. So that's how you record your time as a lawyer. So like every minute you're working, you record your time. Like you've got like timers going of the task that you're doing, and that time is like, time recording is the billing. So that's you billing your client. So if a task took too long, the partner would review like the drafting that you'd done, and they'd go, oh, this contract took you 3 hours, but it should have only taken you 1 hour. So the 2 hours that you took too long is going to be written off. We're only going to bill the client for the hour because that's all we can justify. And those 2 hours is now down as time that you've spent that is like I can't remember the word they used, but it was basically that time you're not going to get it as part of your billing target. So it makes you efficient because it's like, well, you don't want to be overcharging, and ultimately you've still got to bill 8 hours a day. Like you've still got to make sure you've recorded your 8 hours a day. Obviously we would do more in law, but the point is, it's like the time that you are working has to be efficient, and it can't just be wasted time. So, and when you're learning, you do have to spend more time doing things. But the point is here, like, if you are spending like 10 hours doing a task, but really, are you actually spending 10 hours doing it? Are you actually just like getting up, having a coffee, making another coffee, listening to a bit of a podcast whilst you're doing it? Like, that's not deep focus time. And I know people say they like to work doing a million different things, but like we actually can't multitask as well as we pretend we can. So you're probably better having like deep focus time doing a task and then moving on to the next. And then also, I think like the reason I'm able to do what I do now is because we've got a great team in place that can carry that weight. Like I didn't just like when I was at the point of like going to be on maternity leave, where my head of operations was concerned, I made sure that he was able to run the operations of the business. But then where the client managers were concerned, where I'd been like maybe micromanage them and doing a lot of changing at the last minute and tweaking and improving, I started to like stop doing that before I took time off. So I started to, instead of making the changes, I did changes in Tracked and showed them where I was changing. That's what I did at first. Then I started recording Loom videos and saying like, this is what I'm doing and this is why I'm doing it. So I was taking them on the journey of the changes rather than just doing the changes for them so that they could learn as I was doing it. Then once I was confident that they started doing that, I started getting them to do everything, and I would just check it, and I would tell them after the event, like once the thing was posted, hey, I would have done the hook a bit different. I would have done it like this. Hey, have you thought about maybe trying this out? So I started to, from like that stepping back of micromanaging, you're going from like one, like showing them the changes to then empowering them to do it, but then maybe telling them what you would have done differently, to eventually saying, hey, you can actually do this on your own. And that's where the empowering comes in, because you have to encourage them. Like you have to tell them, you can do this without me. Like you're just as good as me, if not better. Like you don't need me to check this anymore. And then when they realize that, they're going to feel like they're going to know that it's now sitting on them. Because if they don't think that they're the one to catch it, like they think you're going to catch everything, it kind of comes down to the fact that like ultimately they're always going to feel that they can rely on you. Whereas if you are like the buck stops with you, they're going to start to take ownership of that task or that area that they're responsible for. And they're going to start to do a better job and rise to their level of expertise. So I think that gives you a better oversight then to spot the gaps in your business, see where you're lacking, and then hire the right people. So I've hired where there were gaps, and nothing's perfect. Business is never perfect. There's always going to be things go wrong. There's always going to be things you need to change. And it's just the adaptability to go, yeah, we're missing in this area, and maybe we have to carry the weight for a little period, but we won't forever. Like I've had time since being on maternity. So I had a month in March so exactly a year since I'd taken time off the business, where one of our key client managers who had to take time off unexpectedly. And we realized that a huge amount of the business, and the service of one particular key client was centered around this person. So I had to jump in because no one else in the team had been trained up to deliver this service. So I had to step in, and I was working maybe 5-6 hours a day for a couple of weeks. And I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot do this because I still had a little baby. She was only 1 at the time. And I did this for 2 weeks to plug a gap so that the other team members weren't under pressure. But within that 2 weeks, I also then hired someone and built up another team member to be able to manage it in her absence, so that when she returned back from the 2 weeks, she was able to continue on. She'd felt like she'd had a break, but at the same time, those team members, the new ones, were able to carry on in her absence. So we fixed the problem that it was all depending on her. And we, at the same time, I was like, okay, I'm definitely not going to fall into the trap of doing all of this. So I quickly helped, but also removed at the same time.
So good. Masterclass in leadership, in delegation, in systematizing, in, I guess you could say, work-life balance, which I don't really like that term, but it feels like you have definitely created it. I'm so grateful for you.
I'm so grateful for you.
So much today. And if people want to follow you and connect with you in any way and connect with your company, we'll put all the show notes down below, but go ahead and share, where's the best place for them to hit you up?
So you can follow me on Instagram. My handle is with Georgia Thomas, and then you'll find all the links available there. eStudios is Create with eStudios, so you can follow us there. And I also have a podcast, the Social Edge podcast, where we talk all things like social media and what's going on in the social media world there.
We didn't even dive into that. So if you want to get social media expertise from her, go and listen to her podcast. But this was amazing.
Thank you so much. And honestly, I just want to say you are such an inspiration. I'm so inspired by you, and I just love learning from you. So I'm excited that I was able to share something with you today.
This was great. So if you like this episode, share it with a friend, share it on social, tag us, and I'll see you next time on The Jen Gottlieb Show.